Welcome to Members Only, a show featuring CMAC members and the projects they produce. My name is Johnny Pacina, and I'll be your host today. In this edition of Members Only, we'll be talking to John Ochinero, the producer of Brexit and IT Sales, and Dominic Zamora, the producer of BSN. First up is John Ochinero, the producer of the Brexit and IT Sales. Let's check out a clip.
Welcome. I'm John Ochinero. In parts 1 and 2 of this series, we provided a summary of the European Union and Brexit. Further, we discussed the tremendous revenue opportunity for IT sales in the USA. America's over 25 million small and mid-sized businesses will spend over $200 billion on technology in 2016. If you add enterprise sales, that number more than doubles. Today, we will discuss channel infrastructure for USA cloud sales, specifically agents, master agents, and private label. Let's take a look at a slide from our first video in this series. It is critical that when launching in the USA that you conduct a go-to-market strategy starting.
All right, welcome back. John, thank you for being here with us tonight. Appreciate the time you've taken out of your day.
My pleasure.
And I must say, you've got quite the voice for a broadcast. Great voice. Do you have some experience with that, or is this kind of your first try?
I think only here. I was up in Sacramento for a while, and I actually had a radio show called Cloud Scoops.
Oh, okay.
And so I was there. I did about 30 weekly shows. It was on 96.5 FM.
Okay.
And it also was through a community access channel.
With a radio component.
With the radio component.
Oh, that's great.
And I had 30 shows, and it was called Cloud Scoops. I actually had guests. It was an interview show, and guests that were involved with IT cloud products. And but then I went off. Then I went rogue, and
Gotcha.
I had the chair of the train museum, and I had the maestro from the Philharmonic, the teen Philharmonic.
Oh, there you go. So you got all sorts of projects.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, that's clear that you've had some experience, and let's talk about the show itself, the Brexit and IT sales, and what that show entails, and how you, what it's about essentially for the audience that's unaware.
Sure. I've been involved in IT and IT sales and channel sales for quite some time. And the times I was in Europe, I would find that the vendors, the suppliers, the organizations out there, they'd say, well, yeah, we'd like to go to the U.S. and be involved with the U.S. market. But, you know, we've got the EU here, which was formed, the modern day EU was formed, European Union was formed in 1993, and has 28 countries, including the UK. And almost all those countries have at least 50%, 70% or more of their trade within that union. And because the EU was formed so you could have people, goods, and services move without any kind of barriers. So a person in Italy could actually move to the UK. The product would change hands as much as if you were shipping across the street, except for the distance of freight charges.
Right.
And that was wonderful for the EU. With Brexit, which was came about in, I think it was the 23rd of June?
Somewhere around there this year, yeah.
I should know it. I did a show on it.
Well, that's okay. We have the video to watch and see all that information.
I'll have to refresh my mind on that one.
But it's great, though. You clearly have a wealth of knowledge from that standpoint of the business and some current events applying to the business side of things. And it's really great to see that kind of content come to CMAC because you're providing some insight to our viewers, and you do it in such a way that I think is really compelling with your graphics and the way you articulate. And
Thank you.
You do a great job with that. So with that in mind, though, let's talk about how the production process, though, specifically, because clearly you have the subject, you know what you want to say. How did you initially approach the project as a beginning video producer?
Yeah, and Johnny, let me just step back for a moment just to get back to the purpose of the show. So the purpose of the show, when Brexit hit, it was a panic mode in Europe as far as potentially these trade relationships collapsing with the UK and between the other 27 countries. In reality, I believe they're all going to still have a very strong relationship. However, I thought it was a good theme to start showing how the trade between the United States and the EU and UK could strengthen. And later on, I plan to show how the United States can further develop their relationships with the EU. Okay,
Right.
so now let's push that aside for a
Right.
second. That's with the actual content, and I thank you for your patience on that.
No, that's fine.
With the production, as you know, several years ago I joined up with CMAC, and I did a number of shows, and we used the virtual screen. And the virtual
green screen,
well, the virtual backup with the green screen, and we had the virtual set,
Okay.
which looks like a newsroom.
Yes.
Okay. Sort of a little. Anyway, I don't want to use any adjectives
No, that's
that
fine.
other people
No,
want to use, but the fact is, it's nice. I enjoyed it. It was very valuable for me. And you have a virtual flat screen, and that means when you have that all going on at the production level. It's beautiful because when you finish, you're basically putting in the credits at the end and you're all done. Wrap it up.
Exactly. That's studio production.
You have somebody on audio controlling all the audio. You have somebody at the TriCaster who's throwing those slides exactly at the time according to your script, which you've provided. You have somebody at the teleprompter making sure the text goes, because my 18 brain cells working in unison can't memorize all those scripts. So I love the teleprompter and all that good stuff. But the beauty, again, is when you have everybody doing that and you have 8 people on staff and you have, of course, the floor manager and you got a lot of things going on, you've taken the time of 8 people, give or take. But again, once you're done, you're done. However, those slides don't often go on time. The TriCaster has to be really on the spot.
Yeah.
Telecaster can go up and down, and the various audio and music you selected may not be appropriate. So through you and a variety of professionals here at CMAC, Kyle and other board members as well, encouraged me to just try going the green screen, where you only need really a person to help you set up the camera, bring in the green screen. Certainly have somebody do the teleprompter. Still, for me, that they can't replace my brain power. No matter spinach is going to help with that. And so basically, but you've whittled it down to 2 or 3 people. You can really rock and roll, get the thing in the can. And now, rather than being finished during production, you are you do it to your editing. And the editing, you can really enjoy it. I mean, I don't want to talk too much here.
No, that's what I was just going to say. It's, I think the impression is when people are in a studio environment for the first time, or as a CMAC member, it's great that we have almost a full crew here right now doing this show. And you understand the luxuries of it, but there's also a lot of things you can encounter with it. Like you said, the speed of the teleprompter, someone hitting the button at the right time according to your script. So, there's a lot of challenges, but at the same time, you have the luxury of kind of doing a skeleton crew, as we call it. You have 1 or 2 people on your crew. You can do that. And especially with the green screen, for those of you who are a little bit unaware of how the green screen works, you really don't want to do too much camera movement, because your subject on the screen will be, kind of moving in a very awkward way. So you really lock down those cameras, and that's what you did, right? You're on episode 4 now.
We finished 4 episodes. And this particular kind of content that I'm delivering with the IT sales, it's a newsroom kind of effect. So therefore, it's a fixed full face shot, fixed camera. And so nothing's really moving. And then later on in editing, as you know, I can put the size of the flat screen any size I want, put a little logo above me, have different embellishments as I see fit, and go from there. So it's a fixed screen, it's straightforward shots, it's a nice kind of newsline kind of approach.
And in that particular clip we showed, you were shot center frame, I believe, and with the green screen graphic, the key, as it's called, we removed the green, and we actually were able to shift you to the side of the screen, and then you were able to add your graphics up above. You even had your own logo. So you had direct control of that in post-production and editing.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff. I mean, CMAC here has such fantastic resources, not only with the staff, which are just fantastic as far as their background education, like yourself and all the members. But again, you have Premiere, and I believe the other services, I'm just getting sort of familiar with Premiere, so I don't want to get too far off the track. But the reality is, sure, I can move myself around. I can move the screen up and down, expand the size, the scale, and the positioning. Definitely put different labels, and it's actually, it's a lot of fun. The editing process, the more I get the hang of it, which I'm still in the fundamentals.
Well, I must say, helping you out, you pick it up rather quickly.
Thanks.
Once you get it once, you seem, hey, I go, John, how you doing? You got your audio levels. You're like, how do I bring this up? I show you how to do it.
Yeah.
you know how to do it.
Well, I think you have
after
that scale
yeah.
in your office. He only contacted me 24 times today. He said, I'm only down to 12 now.
No, that's what I'm there for. I'm
No,
there
it's
to
a lot
help,
of
so I
fun
enjoy it.
because you can become a little creative with the editing, even though my content, again, is a very straightforward delivery, newsroom delivery, with hopefully some information based on the graphics that's important or valuable to other people.
It really adds an interesting perspective. You know, you were talking about the implications of Brexit, because a lot of people, I think, had questions during that time. What is that? How does that even affect us? How is that going to affect the world markets?
Right.
If that was even a question to begin with, but you really bring a perspective to something that I think really a lot of us had question marks. What is going to happen after? What does this mean? And you bring the business aspect to it. And I think it really provides our viewers, CMAC viewers that decide to check it out, a really interesting perspective that you don't really see too often on the news and things like the mainstream news, I guess you could say.
Right.
So I think on top of that subject matter, you've really done a good job of presenting it using the format you do in the studio.
It's you know, it is a niche market. I mean, I'm talking about, in this specific area, I'm talking about either technology hardware, which again is the Internet of Things, which is really expanding, or anything that really plugs in the wall or has a battery is considered IT hardware or technology hardware. And software used to be shipped in packages, now it's in the cloud. And there's thousands, literally, of applications that are done in the cloud. Now, this is still a niche market. However, when you're talking about hardware, you're just talking about now that those kinds of resources, the skills we're talking about, the channels we're talking about, can be ported over to whether you're importing furniture from the EU, whether you're importing any kind of tools, whether anything that you're actually shipping. It's a time to start thinking about how you can develop those alliances, not only for maybe exporting to the European Union, because they want trade partners,
right.
But also they're giving it a second look, so they don't have all their eggs in the UK basket. But I'm also saying do have the relationship with the UK as well.
Right.
But also look at new technologies you might want to bring, or new kinds of products you want to bring in from Europe. So it's a good, I see it as a good opportunity for those two continents to really take a look at each other and say, geez, maybe we can really have some fun and make more revenue streams. And
definitely. Well, it's very educational, very informative, especially for those who are in business in the field of trade. So I think it's very beneficial for everyone to check it out.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. So, John, we're just about out of time. Again, thank you for being here. And we'll be right back. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be joined by Dominic Zamora, the producer of BSN.
Thanks, Johnny.
See you soon. Thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Welcome back to Members Only. Joining us now is Dominic Zamora, the producer of BSN. Let's take a look.
Welcome to BSN, a show starring expert with no expertise. My name is Robin Ledham. I'm your delightful host for tonight, and this is my partner in crime.
Hi, my name's Colton Robinson, and I'm here.
Yes, he's here, we're here. We're gonna make sure that your time is best spent talking about nonsense and making it sound like we actually know about the stuff. So for our first question right now, since you know we're all 90s kids right here, and we all watch TV shows, obviously, my first question is, what TV show have you seen as a child that no one seems to remember? You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
There's this one TV show I know, and I don't know if you heard about this, but it's called Gargoyles.
I've never heard of it.
See, it's amazing because like Gargoyles is pretty much. It reminds me of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
All right, welcome back. Dom, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Sporting the CMAC polo there, very nice.
Yeah, I gotta start sometime.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think it's great to start off. It would be good to start off with this to say that you are now working for CMAC. So congratulations on that, and it's great to have you on the show because you started off as a producer for the show BSN. So just based off of that clip, I think the viewers can really get a grasp of what the show is and the kind of the vibe from it. So talk about a little bit of the show and how you came up with it.
All right, so the show BSN is basically just a normal talk show with my friends from work at Fresno State. And then the concept for it was just, we were all just hanging around our workstation at Fresno State one day, and we were just having a normal conversation, just talking about just random stuff, different topics ranging from like politics to religion to just goofy stuff all over the place. And one of my friends said, it would be really cool if we just if we made a show out of this. And then I was right next to him, like, hey, you know what? I can actually do that. So I told him what I was doing at CMAC and what CMAC is all about. And they were all so interested. And they're like, hey, you know what? Let's see if we actually can put something together. And so one idea led to another. And then pre-production lasted for about 2 months, 2.5 months. One person, and these are all people that actually are on the show. So Henrik, he's the animator. He designed the backdrop for the green screen effect.
Cool.
He worked it in Maya, so it's all a 3D environment. The music was from, he's not an actual talent, but another friend from work, his name's Morgan. He's a sound design major.
Okay.
He designed the whole music to be like a jazzy feel. It was, take after take, like, oh, how does this sound, Dom? Let's change it up a little bit, or take out this instrument. And then all little items in the background, like there's a guitar, things like that, that's all paying a homage to different people of the show. I'm the director. I have like a little director's clapper thing in the background. Okay. So everyone who has a part in the show has a little item devoted to them.
Well, that's great. I don't think I realized off the bat that you had that much detail to it, and that to provide that insight, I think is really cool. Kind of gives a sort of a supplemental look on what the show is and what it's about. And I really enjoy it. It's kind of like how my brain works. Like you're saying, you're jumping from topic to topic.
Yeah.
It's just how I think. Sometimes when I'm talking to someone, I end up talking about 5 different things in a span of a minute. So it's great to see that, I guess, as a show, and to see younger people talk about that too from a student perspective. So talking from a student's perspective, and that's something we really want to do here, is kind of bridge, strengthen the connections with schools like Fresno State, Fresno City College, other schools to utilize CMAC. So are you a media major? You
Yes.
started media. So how did you hear about CMAC as a student?
Well, I just became a media student last fall. I took an intro to editing class with Don Priest, who works here, and he told me about CMAC, and he thought it would be really good for me to try to get an internship here. And I told him at the time, I want to get into videography, not really photography. I want to gain more experience outside the classroom environment, so he thought the internship would be good. So I applied in December and went through the interview process, and I told the people, including yourself, that if I didn't get the position as an intern, I would apply or I'll sign up as a member. And so as it happened, I became a member anyway, and I was really excited. I was ready to start producing something, volunteering on other people's projects. So now it's 9 months later, almost 10 months later, I've really gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience since then. Here in the studio, I've learned how to mess with the TriCaster, the camera sets in here. I mess a lot more with Premiere Pro, video production outside of CMAC. So yeah, students who want to gain more knowledge and more experience outside the classroom environment, CMAC is definitely the way to go, because you're going to be on part of projects that are just more complicated, more like they're going to be thrown at your lap that you're just not going to get in a classroom environment.
Well, most definitely. And you mentioned, too, taking advantage of your membership as CMAC and making a connection with CMAC. When you volunteer on a show, you start getting exposed to other topics, other types of productions. So you may have an idea for your show and you want to stick to that, which is fine. But when you decide to volunteer for other projects as well, not only do you get experience with another type of show and how to operate in another show, but you also get introduced to different types of technical aspects, how to use this type of camera, what types of visions other people have, and that ends up being a really big learning process, I think, too, and it's going to be a really big bonus for what you're doing. So going back a little bit to BSing now, how did you, well, it sounded like you had a group of friends, right? You just guys sat down, came up with the show. How did the initial production, you said it took about a few months to pre-produce. How was that process kind of going along that?
So like I mentioned, we were all at work one day and we were just talking about different ideas. So pretty much what you saw and the viewers saw in the little intro clip, that was all thought up in a span of 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
So we thought of how do we want the feel of the show? We want to be casual, relaxing. So we thought a modern bar lounge place, dark vibe, so then we thought the jazzy music will complement that pretty well. So in terms of the title, that was Henrik's idea, but he made the spelling try more of a German spelling.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So I guess that's a little bit confusing for the viewers if you don't catch it real quick.
Right.
But
So you as a producer / director, what was the steps you took after sort of that brainstorming session? Because I think that's a lot of the time where people get tied up is they'll have the idea, they know they want to do it, but the execution and what the very next each step is. So after you came out with that brainstorming, what did you do as a producer? Did you start devising a schedule maybe, or did you have further visions that you added to it?
Some of the visions came along the way. For example, the individual objects for each person of the show.
Okay.
That came later, but I kind of let my animator and the audio director kind of do their thing for a while. I just kept tabs on them, hey, how's it coming along? Give them free reign. I didn't want to pressure them too much because I know at the time we just started the new semester at State.
Oh yeah.
So, but I kept tabs on them every couple of weeks. How's it coming along? And then Henrik, he'll show me what he had. Just the bar itself, the actual bar, not everything else, just the bar took him a month.
Oh wow.
So
just building the graphics and creating that scene.
Yeah, and then just the textures and all that stuff. And I said, okay, let me take a look at it. Oh wow, that looks like an actual glass with with liquid in it, And then he showed me in Maya just zooming in and moving around the environment, it convinced me that it was real.
Oh wow.
So like I said, it just took a period about a couple of months, especially with the music part, because Morgan, that was his last semester at State. He was going to graduate, so I was trying to be patient with him.
Right.
So that took him not too long, couple of weeks, but overall we were pretty happy with what he put out for us.
Nice.
But the backdrop, that took the longest, but that was just the main two things, just the animation and the music.
Well, that sounds like a major process, and you seem to tackle it really well based off of how the show turns out. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
I'm sure some students who are watching too may wonder, okay, well, if you're a full-time student and you're doing something here like at CMAC, for example, how did you manage your time? How did your schedule look like? How did you make it all happen?
Oh my gosh, I'm still struggling with that now, so it's not easy.
So you're still in that process too.
Yeah, as a full-time student, you try to, even with everyone, trying to show up for a scheduled, meeting to make the show happen, we try to schedule dates just strictly on Saturdays, that's when everyone was free or potentially free. We shot in or we recorded 2 or 3 episodes a session, and the idea was to record it, edit it once a week, put it out there. But life happens, so I know I'm behind on episodes. But the idea was try to space it out where it won't take up too much time. But
Gotcha.
Oh man,
it's kind of chipping away at it, right? You have the idea, and it's even for myself too. I've also volunteered and I've done some productions here and there, both side projects as well as CMAC related and various projects, it's really interesting because you want to make sure you're managing your time. And if you're working with someone, volunteers especially, you really have to make sure there's that adequate time. Like you said, it sounded like a month or two for the pre-production process. And sometimes it takes that long. But it's definitely worth it because, like you said, you come into the studio, you have a few sessions, a few episodes in one studio session time. So it's really manageable if you just put the effort into it, I think. And I think that's really the best advice we can give. Any other advice for students in terms of time management or even production wise?
Oh man, from what I've learned, you've got to really focus in on the pre-production. You know, it doesn't matter whatever kind of project it is. If it's just normal field production or studio production, you know, that will literally save you a lot of time, because if you just try to wing it for something like a show, it could potentially work out, but there's going to be some mishaps along the way.
It's kind of obvious sometimes when, you know, like if you watch a show in the studio or any sort of production, like, okay, they just, you know, decided to just turn on the camera and run with it, right?
Yeah.
Like almost like improvising lines and stuff. Sometimes, like you said, depending on what you're doing, I mean, that works great for comedy if you're doing some sort of improv show or something like that. But if you really want to make something look kind of semi-professional, have, you know, if you're talking about topics where you're talking to members like this show, we have our cameras are very still. We have some pretty good operators. Kudos to everyone on the crew now. Just wanted to throw that out there. Great job. And it does depends on what you're doing. And when with what you're doing, I mean, for being a comedy kind of relaxed kind of show, I think it works very well.
Oh, thank you.
So I really enjoy that. Dom, I'm getting the sign to wrap it up. So we're gonna say goodnight and thank you for taking the time to come out to the show during your shift, right?
Yeah, I'm working right now.
Yeah, you're covering the front. So
thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time to here. So that wraps it up for today's Members Only. If you'd like to see more about the shows we've talked about today, you can look for them on CMAC's channels, Xfinity 93 as well as Uverse 99. If you don't have Comcast, Xfinity, or AT&T Uverse, you can go to our website, cmac.tv, to watch the live stream under the Watch tab. Thanks again to our guests, John Ochinero and Dominic Zamora. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.